Good morning. How are you? Happy Saturday. It is Saturday, March 30th. Hopefully, you can hear me. If you can hear me, drop a one in the chat. If you cannot hear me, drop a two in the chat. Let me get to the chat so I can see what's going on over there. I have Miss Monica on in the background, so let me turn it down a little bit. That's what Sugar Bear was watching. Now he's over here playing with my phone. Okay. Hey, Shar. How are you? How's California? It's early over there. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Candace. Okay. Sad. Hey, girl. Hey. Good morning. Good morning. Or as they say, good morning. I don't know who says that, but anyway. Excuse me. Yes. I'm so glad to see you guys all. If you're on the replay crew watching this later, I appreciate you. Replay crew, drop a heart or whatever you want down in the comments if you're on the replay crew. I will leave the live chat on replay. So if you're watching it later, you can see what we all talked about. Okay, so we had a good little kiki yesterday. I had a good little kiki yesterday with the woman who was minding my uterus. And I was reading some of the comments this morning, and I just wanted to come and just like touch base with everybody because I feel like it struck a chord one way or the other. I was just having fun. I'm on my healing journey, so I'm not really coming after this woman, but I was just having fun. And I had a few moments, so I did that. But I want to talk about the seriousness behind it, right? Because I can be flip about it now and poke fun at it. But in the beginning, these were hard things to process as far as age, single, and donor, right? Part of it, and I'm just going to be honest, I don't want to offend anybody. It's not my intent to offend, but I just need to tell my truth and what my experience was. Not to say that it's absolute or that it's the experience of everyone, but a lot of people in the Black Christian community came after me in the beginning, right? And I say that because obviously Catholic is Christian, but I was raised in the Catholic Church. So when I'm saying Black, I mean like more like Baptist. I've been to all the churches because my great grand liked to visit all the churches. I think she was Seventh-day Adventist, but we would go. I've seen all of them, like the what is it, the Kojic Church of God in Christ, and I've been to all of those. And I don't know which group it was, but that's what I'm saying, like the Black Christian. There's a thing of, even when I first started this, one of my older sisters was like, oh, you must be doing it for a man. What's his name? Is he worth it? Like, it wasn't in her sort of sphere of understanding, if you will, that I would want to have a child by myself, for myself, not for the benefit of someone else, right? And a lot of people come in and ask that, like, are you doing this for a man? Or, a lot of people who do it later got married and their spouse wanted a man or their partner wanted a man. If they didn't get married, no judgment. We're all inclusive. And I wasn't doing it I was doing it for myself. So I don't know. I feel like that also says something about us as women, that that it's perceived oddly when we make choices for ourselves, when we want something or we do something or expend a lot of energy, time, money, heart, soul for something just for ourselves. So I think that is also something, it's more a comment on society as a whole and not like these specific women, because we're kind of conditioned in what we grow up in. Right. And I know a lot of people in the church are very much in support of the patriarchy, like the man is in charge, things are done for the man. Me, not so much. So I am a feminist in every sense of the word. But I wanted to talk about that for people who may also, because, I'm out here on my platform. And so I will speak for myself, and hopefully it resonates with other people who don't yet have the voice or who have not yet found their voice to talk about it. But it is okay to do things for yourself. And then you get the, oh, well, you're just being selfish. I don't think giving life is selfish. When you're giving birth, you're on the precipice of life and death, right? That part is not selfish. If you're going to give that child a great life, that part is not selfish. Now, don't get me wrong, because you guys know I'm a true friend. Oh, are you testing out the camera on my phone?
0 minutes and 0 seconds.
Hang on one
Exposure
second.
off.
I didn't even know the phone could talk to you about your camera ratios and exposure. Okay, here you go. Um, oh my god, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, y'all, what was I saying? What was going on? Hello, Candace, Queen of Sheba. Oh, you're in South Africa too. Okay, Mrs. M is in South Africa. Hopefully she'll join because I know my late ones she can't join. I have lost my train of thought. I know I was talking about oh my god, women doing things for yourself. Hopefully that was what I was talking about. It's okay to want things for yourself and to do things for yourself and do it unabashedly. Oh, I know. I was saying true crime. I'm a true crime fan. You guys know that. There's a lot of people out here having babies that have no business with babies. They just convicted the woman who left her, I think either 16-month or 18-month-old child, trigger warning, in a playpen for 10 weeks while she left the country. Did not end well. Hopefully that goes without saying. So just because you can have biological children doesn't mean you're meant to be a mom, right? And so in the same term, in the same turn, just because you can't have biological children doesn't mean you're not meant to be a mom. Do you know what I mean? The inverse of that can also be true. And so I think there is a lot of stigma associated, one, with being a single mom by choice, two, with using donor specimens, if you will, to become a mom. And what brought me to this today is I was watching another video and it reminded me of who I call my great grandma, Miss Florence Porter, and how much she loved me and I loved her, but I shouldn't even say but, it's not a negative. And she was not biologically related to me, right? My mother's own mother passed away when my mother was a teenager. And so my mother ended up in foster care. And this woman is the woman who fostered her, right? And so when I was born, my mom was still a teenager. When I was born, we lived with her, right? So I was around her all the time. We lived with her until I was 5. And the way I remember it in a child's mind, this may not be true, but the way I remember it is my mother wanted to parent me without my grandmother's input, right? And so she moved out. And because it was, I was with my grandmother most of the day, but it was good. Like I learned to read. I was reading proficiently at age 4. I was bored by the time I got to kindergarten. But it was just being loved is what I remember. She was not biologically related to me. I didn't understand that until many years later. And to this day, you can't tell me that's not my grandmother. That's the only grandmother I've known, right? From both sides of my family. So that is my grandmother. So that is where this theory of biology fails, because she wasn't we don't have a biological connection, but that is my grandmother and she loved me like no other. And I feel like her love was the foundation for who I am. Even, past that, all the trauma that I've experienced, like that goodness that's still in my heart, I feel like was implanted by her. And so for anybody who is contemplating, should I conceive with a donor egg? Should I use donor sperm? Should I be waiting for Mr. Right? I just encourage you to think about all of those things, right? And does it really because that is where I got stuck. Like if you go back and watch my old videos, I was like, I am never gonna do donor eggs, like blah blah blah. I'm never gonna do that. And part of it is I wanted my genes to be there. Like not even like the biology of it all. Like I wanted, and I think that is probably like very instinctive, right? Back in the day, like many, many years ago when people were coming out of caves, there was the desire to continue the race, right? And continue your own genes, like survival of the fittest type thing, right? And so I'm not judging myself for that, but I see the shortcomings in that. And so I just want to encourage anybody who's like on the fence about it or not sure about it, don't let people shame you into like what ultimately is your life decision. Excuse me, like don't let people and I know like a lot of people don't even want to talk about it and people get frustrated, like celebrities are using donor eggs and they're not talking about it, but it's personal. And given how people react to the donor situation, I don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're famous, your child is now like famous adjacent, I guess, right? Because they're going to be in the limelight. So do you want to announce because that's also your child's story. And so maybe when they go to school, they don't want people to know that, or they haven't processed it. Or even though, children are brutally honest out of the mouths of babes, but I don't think they would be cruel about it, but the parents would infuse cruelness into it, if that makes sense. I remember this is the tangent, this is the trigger warning too. It's about racism. But I remember in the 4th grade, so I lived in a different house every year growing up. We moved every year. So I went to a different school every year. I didn't go to the same school 2 years. Well, once in elementary I did, but I didn't go to the same school 2 years in a row until I got to high school. Well, 3 years in a row, we'll say. But the children next door, we had been friends, we had been playing, we had been doing. One day they got mad at my brother and I, and they just started calling us the N word like crazy, right? Where did they learn that from? They learned it from their parents. It's not like they came out of the womb thinking that I was an N word. Um, they learned it from their parents. And so I think when kids are cruel in school, it's because they learned something from their parents. So their parents are telling them like judgmental things about it. And so I think the reason why celebrities don't, I mean, one, they don't owe us an explanation. It's their personal business, right? I know a lot of people want to know that so they can be inspired, but just know that if there is somebody, unless they save their eggs, it is very rare that you're just going to be popping out babies after 50, unless, you saved your eggs. And even then, the age that we are now, if they would have frozen their eggs like at 35, the whole cryopreservation system was different and less likely to be successful with just eggs, right? We know that they were better preserved when there were embryos that were frozen. Anyway, I digress. So I was thinking about that because there's a couple of you all who are wanting children, but are still feeling like, and I'm not judging you, I'm just laying the path for possibilities for you. It's obviously absolutely your life, but I just like, let's be honest about it, right? If your goal is your goal to be a mother, like that's what I felt like. I was here, I was meant to shepherd another soul earthside. I was very, very clear about that. Is that the goal, or is the goal only to carry on your genes? Is it to carry on your husband's genes? If it's to carry on your husband's genes, you're still doing that, right? And you're still becoming the mother. It won't be genetically your child, right? The way the law is, I'm trying to remember, it'll be biologically your child. It's either one or the other, but whatever. So I think like get to the heart of what it is that you are, what your goal is, what you feel situated for. And it ain't for the faint of heart. None of this is for the faint of heart. And some people are like, oh, I wish I could do IVF. I can't afford it. Even if you can afford it, it doesn't take away the emotional part. And there's still no guarantee, right? So, like, if you're on the edge of this is my last dime, or this is my retirement fund I'm going into, or whatever it is, still no, there's no guarantee. There is not one IVF procedure that is 100% guaranteed. There's always a risk. And one of you guys had messaged me yesterday, or not messaged me, but in the comments had said that you had done, I think, 5. Oh no, it was more than 5 because I had 5. I think it was 7 or 8 donor egg transfers, and your clinic was saying no more because they wouldn't do anymore because now you had less than or 1% or less than 1% chance. So, and I asked, had you looked into immunology? Because it's like it's actually, I always say it's one of two, but it's technically one of 3 things, right? So it's either the embryo, there's something wrong with the embryo, the receptivity of the uterus, so there's something wrong with, or the synergy between those two could be the third reason, right? And so like in my instance, I've had 3 different sperm donors. It was the 3rd donor that got me the success. And then I've had with my eggs and with donor eggs. I did the ERA, which now, if you saw my video yesterday, you know that it's not even. Oh, I know. Laura sent me the thing, like the inventor slash creator of the ERA is now stating he no longer believes in it. And so, or she, I might be adding a gender, but the doctor no longer can get behind it. And I went and researched some of the data. There's a lot of numbers and statistical things, but it makes sense, right? And so you just don't know. And so like to do a lot of testing, I think it's either And you guys know I did not PGT test the embryos. I have a whole video on why I'm not for PGT, and or should I say PGT testing? Isn't the T for testing? You know what I mean. So yeah, there's all sorts of different philosophies. There's different ways to go. You know, if you get in any chat, there's always like the army of people who are like, all you need is Geritol, or there's an army of people of you need Mucinex, or you know what I mean? Like there's all these sort of little camps of like, this is what worked. But just because it worked for that person doesn't necessarily mean it will work for you. So I always advocate for like testing things out, knowing what your levels are, what your blood work is. Like even for supplements, which seems pretty straightforward, I always recommend get a blood test before you start taking DHEA, and talk to your doctor. I'm not an advocate of like doing sneaky things or not collaborating with the doctor, even if they don't like it. At least be honest with them. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, this is what I'm doing, and talk through it with them. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so I want to talk to the ladies who may have been shamed by people like Fitz or whoever that was, that I was joking with yesterday. Because there's more to it than just that. And that relationship that you have with your child is I can't even explain like how much love is in my heart for Sugar Bear, and how much love I receive from him, and how happy I am to shepherd him, and like little things like we were practicing clapping yesterday, but we're also like he's after my bagel. He's come around here. You want to come over here? You want to say hi to the aunties? Come on. Let me see. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, I know. Oh, let me see. He's got his runny nose still. Can I wipe your nose before you see the aunties? No. Okay. Kinda. He's doing all the things. You say hi. Say hi. You want to show them how you were learning to clap yesterday? Can you do it by yourself? Let me see. Can you clap? Good job. Yes. Good job. There you go. So see, for him right now, it doesn't matter. His genetics don't matter to him. What matters is that he's loved and that he's learning. And so that for me is not selfish. That part of it is not selfish because he has life. And so when people are like, oh, and a lot of people are like, oh, especially because you have a boy, that's horrible. He should, you know what I mean? But like, what am I supposed to say to that? Oh my God, should I put him back? You're totally right. How do I put him back? Do you know? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you some. Hold on. I don't know why people are saying those things. And then also for the girl yesterday who was like, you need mental help. If you really thought, like genuinely thought I needed mental health intervention, shame on you for leaving that, because I could have been in such a vulnerable position that I could have jumped off the balcony. So I don't really believe for one second that that's what you thought. I believe you thought you were being slick and funny. Do you know? Yeah, because if I wasn't mentally well, why would you get on the internet and taunt me? Like we see this all the time, people getting bullied and unaliving themselves. So are you really feeling that way? And are you really willing to risk that to have a child without, you know what I mean? Like I'm exaggerating it to make my point, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? So don't let other people's opinions of you sort of shame you into what decisions. And I know there's a whole philosophy on whether or not to reveal that to your child. I am going to always have an open, honest communication with Sugar Bear about his origins. I understand there are some people who would not be acceptable to their family, or their family would cast shame upon them, and that is difficult. There's a lot of research, a lot of studies that show when the kids aren't told young and then they find out on their own, that there's a sense of betrayal. We kind of talked about that with the Kerry Washington thing, although I don't know if she explicitly used the words betrayal, but whenever there's deception around a person's conception, let me say that, there's usually some resentment about it because they feel like they have lived a lie or they have been lied to on a regular basis. And so I think for me, and there's studies to show that, tell them young and often, and it is like telling them the sky is blue. It is just a thing that exists, nothing more, nothing less, right? So it's up to everybody else. I'm just talking about my approach. But I say that I say all this to say if you're on the fence about it because you're worried about what other people think, the happiness that you feel will make that pale in comparison. Do you know? It really is a blessing. It really is. Like, we have these new scientific methods. Yes. Do you see yourself over there? Who's that cutie? Who's that? Who's that handsome boy? Huh? Who's that? Who's that? But I also want to say again, like, you have to be you know yourselves better than I know you. Because look, have we even met, sis, in real life? I mean, for real, for real. But if you know what your temperament is, what you can handle, all those things. But I just want to encourage you to dig deep if you're like I was like, absolutely, I'm not going to do that, and kind of just question yourself, or like, what can I handle? Why can't I do that? This is not for the faint of heart. It ain't for the faint of heart. Let me say it like that. It ain't for the faint of heart. But it's the same thing of like, if you're in a same-sex relationship to have a child, you got to get your guard up. There are going to be some crazy people. I have a few friends, and like mainly where it comes from is the bully children at school who obviously heard it from their parents, right? Because I don't think children innately care who your caregivers are or who a child's caregivers are. But for them to think it's an insult to say, oh, you have two moms. Like, if that's your reality, you're like, yeah, so what? I do have two moms. You know what I mean? Like, so someone told that child that something was bad or should be perceived as bad about that. So I think it's the same thing. And I know there are a lot of people who don't want to tell. To each his own. Ouch, I didn't need that jaw, I guess. Did I not need my jaw? You want to get down? What are you trying to do? Thank you for letting me get the booger out of your nose. So I appreciate you. You say hi. You show off your new teeth. All those teeth coming in. Can I show them? Although, say, Mom, you're just playing with my nose. Don't put your hands in my mouth. You're right, son. You're right. Yeah, to each his own, whether you tell or you're not tell. The only, I would say, like, there are lots of DNA tests on the market that you can just walk right into a drugstore and purchase or have mailed to your house. So eventually they probably will find out. I just watched a documentary, well, not just, like a couple weeks ago on, I think it was Amazon Prime, and the male was, okay. You don't want to go down. I got you. Okay. The dad was impotent, and so they did sperm donors. I think I might have said this on here. But all three of the children had different donor dads, and they were not allowed. They didn't find out till they were adults, and they never told their father they knew. They talked to the mom. The mom had Alzheimer's. She had dementia. So there were times where she was lucid. And I guess the thing with dementia, like, you can remember long ago, it's like the new short term, and you can't really it's not linear, your memory. So anyway, she told the son when he said, why did you never tell us? And she said, it was none of your business. Like, dead ass. It was none of your business, even though that's his biology. Give me 1 second. Let me figure out what's going on. Do you want to sit up here? I don't know what's happening. Oh, I can see that you're sad. I just don't know why you're sad. Should we try to figure it out? What's making you sad? You want milk? You want milk? Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me flip you guys this way. Okay, milk is coming. Here we come. It's coming. Yes, it's coming. Here we go. Milk, 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 milk. Okay. There you go. Oh my God. Whoops. This little one. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, let me look at these comments because I've been chit-chatting here. 6:30, trying to acclimate and stay above water. Life been lifing, girl. Sherry New, hey. 3:30 in South Africa. Okay, so I'm in a good time here then. Same thing happened to me. Hey everyone on the West Coast. I keep asking myself why you keep going live so early. LOL. Oh my god. Yeah, because sometimes the West Coast people miss out and then they'll send me a note. And I'm up earlier now these days. So there you go. Hey Quan, in between sessions, so I'll be catching this with the replay crew. But hey ladies, hey. Oh, okay. I'm glad you dropped in and I hope you enjoyed on the replay. Sorry. I might be interrupting his meal with my loudness. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. You guys help me too. I don't it's good to have the dialogue. Hey Tiffany. It is when you test the embryos to see if they're aneuploid or euploid or mosaic, which is a variation of both. Um, a lot of people will test them, like especially if you have an abundant amount of embryos, right? You'll test, like I say, abundant in my mind. It's like if you have 20 embryos, you'll test them. Although I think I had 20, I ended up with 10 that made it. I did not test, but just to see if there's any chromosomal abnormalities. The caveat with that is a lot of clinics, if it comes back that there's something wrong, they will not transfer it. And mosaic, there's like high mosaicism and lower mosaicism, which means there's a slight chance that something is wrong, but they can't pinpoint which chromosomes are not exactly right. And so some clinics will not transfer mosaics, and actually transferring mosaic embryos is relatively new. My dermatologist, who I always call my IVF unicorn, was like the first person to have mosaic embryos transferred, and her children are fine. But there's no guarantee. You never know. People are saying hi to you. They say hi, sugar man. You like that? He laughed. Okay. We are off the IVF start to get our genetic test done before we decide on PGTA. It's a hard decision and it's more money and more time, but because we have had so many miscarriages naturally, that makes sense, Quan. I mean, you have to do, I'm always a fan of there's no hard and fast rules. Like you have to look at the circumstances and what you're going through. So you're putting it off. Okay. It makes total sense. Quan gave a good explanation. Checking the embryos created during the IVF process. It checks for abnormal chromosome formation. There's also another test. It's PG something. I can't think of what it is. But when, you have to do genetic, or maybe you don't know. When you go through IVF, you do genetic testing for both male and female. And so if there are issues, say, for example, I'm a carrier for sickle cell. So if I partner with someone who has sickle cell, there's a chance, who is also a carrier, there's a chance the child will have full-blown sickle cell. So what they do is you go through the IVF process, you create the embryos, and then you test them all. And you look for an embryo that has no sickle cell or has only sickle cell as a carrier, and then you would transfer those. And there's a whole other philosophy on that. But I mean, people with sickle cell can live. They don't live long generally, and it is painful. So you have to make a decision, as a parent, if that makes sense for you. Yeah, he sure did say, "Hurry, mom." He was like, "Let's get this cracking." It was a jab at me for forgetting New York is 3 hours ahead of my new location. Okay, there you go. Oh my God. Wait, what new? Oh yeah, you did say you moved. You didn't say where you moved to though. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes because when I do the late nights, I miss like the South Africa folks and the people in India. And so I'm just mixing it up, and I'm up early. So why not? I'm a little congested. He's a little congested. Oh my God. He's fighting his sleep though. He's so cute. Okay. When he gets to rubbing those eyes, I know it's almost a wrap. Thank you, my little muffin. So yeah, it is, it's just a lot that goes into it. A lot of people don't understand it. I think I'll be perfectly honest. When I first heard about IVF or people doing IVF, I just thought, oh, those are women who don't want to have sex with their husbands anymore. Like they just want to, really, I was like, what do you mean you can't get pregnant? So I just came from the land of super fertile people. And so I just really was not paying attention to it. And now it's far from the truth. Nobody ever wants to do IVF. It is definitely out of necessity and out of, kind of last resort of pregnancy. Yeah. Okay. You want me to stop talking over you? Are you done now? What do you think? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So all of those things, it just, I know what it's like to want. I know what it's like to want to have the baby. And I know like there's all these other obstacles and people cannot be kind and not supportive. And yes, he's always this noisy when he eats. Sometimes he does a little dance or he kicks his leg. Um, but I can't blame him. Sometimes, I get a really good piece of chicken and I dance and kick my leg too. Right? Right? I know. I know. All right. So I just wanted to come on and say that. It was on my mind to share that with you all. I appreciate you all being here. And you know where to find me in the comments, in the chat. I'll be around. Thanks for hanging out with me. Love you guys. Bye. Baby does to us all.